After our speakers, we shall have some reactions from the audience, have a few remarks from the country youth service chair, and then have closing remarks by our very own DRR Winning. Let us be as quiet as possible to ensure that we stand up. Please do join me in the grace, the Rotary grace. For everything we have received in the mind of the needs of others. Amen. Shall we sit? I request the chair, Timothy Jefferson, also known as People Junior, to come and share his opening remarks. Timothy?
Thank you, Robert, and the rest of the panelists. I think they're on their way for making time to join us today. They could be somewhere else making decisions with potential effects on the markets. I am very humbled that you've made the time to join us. I expect that others will join us with time. I would like to, before I move on, shed some light about why we're here. The Professional and Leadership Development Forum, which we are calling the Rotary PLD Forum, is a landmark initiative by Rotaract Uganda. Perhaps the country teams, the Rotary and the Rotaract country teams. I see Rotary country chair, Madam Rosette, working in here. Most welcome. This is a landmark initiative that we hope will be a major fixture on our calendar. Basically, what we intend to do is to increase our visibility and our purpose in the communities that we live in. We hope we can be of better help and participate more in everything that goes on around us, especially the 6 areas of focus for Rotary. We hope the initiative will not only help bridge the relations between Rotary fraternity and organizations and local authorities in our communities, but also it should be able to help us foster constructive debate on several issues like Malcolm was mentioning earlier, that will help us at least have a considerable influence on what happens around us. A lot more about the dialogues will be circulated in flyers with time. We've shared a bit of it with your club presidents. The PLD team will have sessions with different clubs and different fora, and we shall still continue digesting our mandate as we're here. Without wasting much more time, I'll ask Malcolm to move on. That's all I have to know. Thank you.
Thank you. He has made a very brief attempt to introduce me. My name is Malcolm Babizo. I am a Chiga from Katungu, and I'll be the moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme for the first PLD is business and finance. And in very many instances, one would think that that is such a broad theme, and probably our panelists might have felt picked on for having to discuss such a broad theme. But that also allows us to speak about anything in relation to business and finance, gives the audience a wider scope to research and inquire about. Under business and finance, what questions are we looking at? What is the status of business and finance in Uganda? What are the opportunities for young people? What are the challenges that they face? There is the issue about the natural business acumen versus the school business acumen. So how does that work? Does the street smart mind outwit the London School of Economics mind? And how do we bridge the apparent gap between these? Do we promote a lot more research even when we are street smart? Or do we think because we are street smart, we can get away with anything? And help us break down a bit of this very broad topic and theme is, I choose today to refer to him as one of the foremost young business minds in the country, and probably even wider than Uganda. I use the word young very loosely, considering the rest of the audience. Mr. Robert Kamshenga is currently the CEO for Vision Group. His love for sport cannot be overemphasized. His love for business cannot be overemphasized. He is from a very revered family in a small village, in a small district of Kanungu. I guess that would also make him a Mchiga, so stand well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Mr. Robert Kamshenga.
9:15, because I must go somewhere. So I will try and speak for at most 10 minutes, because it's more beneficial for you if you ask me the questions, because there are things you want to know, and I can't assume that I know what you want to know. There's one thing I'm sure of though. This year I will turn 45, and so by the evidence on my head, I cannot consider myself a young person anymore. I think the years have gone. My son is a teenager, so I think it's time to retire from the so-called youth. I think to leave space for you, otherwise there will never be enough space for everybody. I am not any of the things that Malcolm has described at all. He's right about one thing. I'm a lawyer, yes, but that's about it. The others are exaggerated. And our family used to be respected, but that was because my grandfather was more prominent and famous. The rest of us haven't done as well as he did, so don't give us too much credit. The only reason you know a lot about me is because I am more visible than other people who are probably much smarter than I am. I don't know, the only business I ever did on my own was a long time ago as a child, when for survival we were forced to sell bread as a family. And I used to be the hawker, so I used to take bread to different shops and homes, and some of them would pay, some wouldn't pay, which is perhaps a good way for us to start our discussion today. The only reason, or the main reason anybody goes into business is to make money. Full stop. The rest is addition. The reason you're in business is to make money. So if you're not making money, get out. Now, there is one misconception that I would like to try and help you sort of. Not everyone, certainly not every young person, will either be an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur. It's not true that everybody somehow should become a business person. It's not true. Even the people that you're talking about who go to these universities to study business, they are actually, most of them, about 90% of them, are hoping to work for someone who hasn't been to business school. About 60% of the people who become business people didn't set out to be business people the day they were born or the day they went to school. We all live under different circumstances. History shapes us differently, and we find ourselves in a context. And therefore, there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, you're in Uganda. You didn't choose to be born in Uganda. If you had had your way, you would have preferred probably to be born in Iceland or Greenland. But you find yourself here. So you can choose either of two ways. You can choose to cry about it and complain and ask why you were born in Uganda. Or you can choose to make the best of the circumstances you find yourself in. So the power of how you respond to your circumstances is well within yourselves. No one else. It has nothing to do with your parents. It has nothing to do with your relatives. It certainly has nothing to do with the government of Uganda. Nothing. As our headmaster at that time was something called Blue Band. Don't know if you know it. He loved Blue Band and bread. And the thought of not having Blue Band and bread would kill me. So what I decided to do, didn't have any other choices. I started looking around for a job. So I got a job working at night. I worked at night for all the time I was at university. And I slept, so I'd work 3-4 days a week at night, come straight from my work and go straight to class. If any of you has been to the Faculty of Law, you know classes start at 8. So you come and sit, you bathe, change clothes, go straight to class and hope to stay awake throughout. As a result, I have suffered a different problem, but at least I was able to have blue band and bread. So, along the way, there were other friends who responded differently. Some of them decided to go into business, picking things that they would sell. In fact, one that I know very well now owns a logistics business called Dax Couriers. He was actually selling newspapers on the streets, like the vendors you see. So he would go vend his newspapers, then go back to campus. So he's a much tougher businessman than I am, because at least for him, for me, I was doing a job for which I was being paid. He was taking a risk. So, along the way, you learn that a set of circumstances will force you to determine a response. Now, a number of things will prepare you for that response. The first one is an education. It doesn't matter what type of education it is, whether you study theology or business statistics, it doesn't matter. An education, the only thing an education does is it enlightens your mind. That's the rest. It enables you to make decisions. It enables you to make good judgment. It enables you to make enlightened choices. Now, the skills, that's the second point. Whatever you do in your life, you must acquire a skill. Whether you use it or not is another matter. You must acquire a skill. Whether it is as a carpenter, whether it's as a teacher, whether it's as a preacher, you must acquire a skill for two important reasons. One, you might need it to earn a living. So that's why I am a lawyer. I have a skill as a lawyer, but I don't practice law, because that's not the career I chose. Those are two different things. But if the worst comes to the worst, but the second, and for me, which I think I consider the most important point, is when you're being trained to acquire a skill, every trade in the world, and I say this with very good knowledge, every trade in the world, no matter what it is, and by trade I mean a skill or a discipline, has exactly what I have just told you. It has a discipline. So you acquire a particular way of doing things. So for me, my default is to do things the way somebody who was trained as a lawyer would do them. A doctor, whether he's doing medicine or not, will do things the way they were trained as a doctor. There is one more additional point to those that are in process of acquiring a skill. The family you come from, your upbringing, is so important that if you didn't have any, you had better acquire one now. And I'm very serious about it. If you didn't have a proper upbringing, start getting one now. Because there are many things about your upbringing that affect the way you succeed. My mother was an incredibly tough woman, and she didn't take any rubbish of any kind, including sleeping long after 6 a.m. And so, up to now, even when I'm a boss, I find it very difficult to lounge in bed. I am always one of the first people in the office and the last to leave. So, your upbringing, if you had no upbringing, if like we, you just grew, mentors, successful people, people who you want to be like, to help you be like that. So, acquire a skill because it gives you the discipline. acquire an education because it opens up your mind and enlightens you. Number three, an upbringing. For instance, these people were, either when they were young, they were deprived of food and they used to steal. Or it doesn't come accidentally. You who are good people, you can't just become a thief now. It's not easy. It's a skill you have to build over a long time. When you're in secondary school, you're the one who fights for food. You're the one who's abusing guns. Now, if you are like that, no amount of training in finance at the Ivy League or at the Wall Street will make you a good finance manager. Never. Because you don't have the discipline. It will not make you a businessman, businesswoman. Because you simply can't take risks. You're reckless, you're indisciplined, you just don't know what to do. You cannot make good judgments. You don't consider other people. My final point, and I'm sorry if I disappoint you that I have not talked about ratios and cash fees and the flow here, how to do a balance sheet. You can employ people to do that. The things you need to succeed are human. They are not taught in school. Everything I've had to do at my job at New Vision, I never found on a block along the way, looking at people, watching them, seeing how they make decisions, so on. So I'm sorry that I've been a disappointment in that department. If you are looking for knowledge about business and finance, go and find a professor. I am not a professor. I am sharing with you human experiences which have made my life very rewarding. So my final message to you, and I'll answer questions. Feel free to ask me anything under the sun. My final message is to the girls. In your pursuit of success, joy, satisfaction, don't ever let anybody deceive you to the point that they start convincing you that you are incapable of doing certain things. The day somebody starts to discourage you, you walk away from that person, even if it is your mother, you leave. I find that people, and I found it very disappointing, and I had a meeting at the office, I find that Ugandan women of the same status as their male counterparts have an incredibly low level of personal ambition, because the society has drilled it into you to accept that somehow you're a second-class citizen, second rate, and therefore you're not entitled to some of the things that the men demand and expect. So this is a special message to you, the girls sitting here. Just believe in your abilities. You haven't come this far. By the way, by the time you have reached here, sitting today here, you are 3 times better than your male counterparts who are sitting here. Because the journey for the women to arrive here is full of so many obstacles that by the time you arrive here, you are a tough man. The others have fallen off by the wayside. They've gone and married, they've had children, they've been distracted by we old men. So by the time you are here, it means you are capable of much more. Because the boys, they are pampered. It's almost automatic that the boy will go to school. It's not even debated. But the girl, they debate now, are we wasting money? What are we doing? This girl, will she finish school? She's distracted. Then when you're about to do your homework, they send you to cook. The boy is watching TV. Yet, with all those things and those social prejudices, which you find both at school, at home, in town, and at the workplace, you are here. So you've got to believe. Run your own life. And I'm not saying this to please you. 50%, this new vision, which you all think is very successful, 50% of my colleagues on the executive committee with whom we run the company are women please don't clap for me. But we didn't do it as an affirmative action or that somehow we're enlightened. No, we just saw that it made sense. And these women had proved themselves. So our editor-in-chief, who is a very solid person, is a woman. It's not tokenism. She runs the place. She's the one who produces your New Vision newspaper, all these bouquets you like. The person who you like, who started your most popular TV, Bouquet TV, is a woman. The whole TV channel, she runs it. And I'm not saying this so that you men can feel bad and start fighting back yourself. No. Have the humility to learn. One of the things that I learned in the process is that when we men are busy being reckless and trying to take all sorts of crazy risks, the women tell us first be patient. Judgment, right? So I've just told you 50% of our executive committee makes decisions. And these are heads of department. The person who has turned around our marketing function so that all of you nowadays have no problem with us, you love us so much, is a woman. Our head of sales, the person who earns money for us, for the whole of Vision, the person who makes sure we earn money is a woman. The person in charge of our treasury, i.e. the person who looks after the money of New Vision, is a woman. Our chief internal auditor is a woman.
Wow. It's a women organization. Yeah, that is good.
So, for my young men, if you can sleep with a woman in the same bed, well, that already equalizes the factors. So now what? Right. So, thank you. Questions?
I think Robert has kept very, very important. We probably will have someone else to tell us about spreadsheets a little later. Well, he's reminded us about his love for Blue Band. I think that was the team Blue Band goals, not the one that we have now. Not that was that long ago, but...
Thank you also for your wonderful remarks. I'm one person who likes to say, don't run away from a problem, face it. No matter how big, just face it and you'll overcome it. But I want to ask you, this thing, in recognition of the governor's arrival, I needed to fast wait for him to say. Thank you. Okay, I wanted to ask for your opinion about affirmative action. Don't you think this thing called affirmative action is also, in a way, making the women think that they must always be,
early adoption of business and finance. What is your opinion on when someone is starting out? There are usually two ways of going about it. I found, like you take advantage of your skills and go at it alone, vis-a-vis getting your friends, using your connections to help you and going as a team. There are risks and rewards of using either methods, and I would like to know your opinion on which one tends to give more success.
There, Sir Kapshaga, our student has been doing mass communication, and I'm done with my studies. I'm waiting for the graduation in February. But I'm capable of writing articles. I write articles. Stop laughing. I write articles, and I directed them to someone, a new venture. Actually, it's my hobby. He used to tell me that I'm good in writing, and I can perfect it very well, better than should I say, better than the people you're having. But he told me it is something difficult to get a job at New Vision unless when there's someone that knows you better. So I'm capable. I'm going to be capable. I'm a student from the university, but I've been writing articles, and probably let me use this chance to request for a job.
Especially among urban youth. A lot of it is off the trend in Kenya, and some have been successful. The ones in Uganda, not so much so far. How do we, if you have some knowledge on how we can be able to start them right, because a lot of the time they end up having members who fall off along on the wayside as they go along.
They are fashionable or because someone else is doing them. Stop. How sure are you that the person you are imitating knows what they are doing? When we started, one of our most successful enterprises ever, which is our television channel, when we started translating movies and speaking Uganda, everybody started copying us. I wanted to kick them. I told them, we don't know what we're doing. Why are you doing exactly the same thing? We're looking at you and trying to chase you. You're now chasing us. So who is leading who? So if Kenyans are doing investment clubs as young people, first find out why. What is it in Kenya that allows them to do, that exists in Uganda? Everybody here now wants to be a Mark Zuckerberg. You know who Mark Zuckerberg is? Not everybody is going to be a Mark Zuckerberg. The circumstances under which those people are able to thrive are completely different from yours. Everybody can be a Mr. Katongoli, because he started a business in Uganda. He knows. So why don't you learn from our own people? Stop chasing phantoms. Learn from people who are here, concrete, blood, flesh, faith. They're here. Why are you rushing to Kenya? And why didn't you wait for them to learn their mistakes first? So leave fashions, fads, I don't know what else, imitation. Leave it. Look at something properly. Well, why are you imitating someone? He's making tons of money. So that's the first point, which then goes to, I think he was asking me a question. Which one is which? There's actually, the answer is both and none. I'll be a member of parliament and a minister. Well, they're the same thing. So Mr. Katongo, they'll tell you exactly the same thing, that when they set out, they had different thinking. So the answer to your question is that all the things that work depend on the circumstances you find yourself in and how you make your choices. If you meet a challenge or a frustration and you go to the bar and drink, you're finished. Because you will never think your way out of the problem. If you're facing a problem and you spend time thinking, the answer will arrive in your brain. And then you can decide, how do I deploy my skill? Assuming you have a skill as a mechanic, do you deploy that skill for a job? Or do you deploy that skill for a business? And what are the requirements on both sides at that time? And the choices in the world are many, as I say. You can decide that I'm too frustrated, let me go and bury my frustrations in alcohol. Or let me go and pray and hope for an answer. Or you can sit down and talk to people and they help you and give you advice, like you have come today to listen to us, which is a good thing. Which then brings me to answer Aisha. You people need to revisit yourselves. Look at how you reacted to her when she was asking me publicly for a job. You're all laughing at her, telling her to keep quiet. Why is she? I heard you. But she knows. In life, if you don't ask, there's only one answer. The answer is no. If you ask, there are three possible answers. Yes, no, maybe. place where I come from, they say when you see a chief, that's where you ask. So, Aisha, you talk to Timothy, we shall have a discussion. Wow. You see, because now, where will you find me again? Although what they told you is not true. Now, that's typical, and it's good you said OB. That OB of yours whom you're dealing with is probably threatened by you. So he discourages you that, no, you can't get a job here unless you know Mr. Katongole, because if you don't know Mr. Katongole, he's fearing that if you come, his job and his inadequacies will become obvious. Because he's probably been stealing your articles and making them his own. So they think that he's a great man. So please, when you find opportunities, here you have found great people, you say your problem. Or at least make use of whatever it is. You will not ask for a job, but you may ask me for how things are done, and I will tell you. So, yes, you must step forward and speak for yourself. Nobody